Reading the Chofetz Chaim on proper speech, day 99, a matter of intent. While listening to negative information for a constructive purpose, it is not a violation of the prohibition against accepting Lashon Hara. Before taking the liberty of listening to such information, one must be sure that he will not be guilty of causing the speaker to sin. We have seen that in order to convey pertinent information that would otherwise be considered Lashon Hara, several conditions must be met. For example, the speaker's intent must be to bring about a positive result. If the speaker does not have the constructive intent, his words are Lashon Hara, despite the fact that the information is important to the listener to hear. In such a case, being a listener would be a transgression of before a blind person, do not place a stumbling block. If one is privately doing business with somebody and then, by coincidence, a friend begins speaking Lashon Hara about that very individual, one is required to interrupt him or walk away. Since the speaker is unaware that the listener is doing business with this person, the speaker is talking Lashon Hara and must be stopped. After interrupting him, one may tell him that the information he had begun to relate may be important to the listener, and that he may continue speaking provided that he can honestly relate it for a constructive purpose only. Meriting divine favor. However, if Hashem will judge the person with compassion and seek to find him meritorious, the sum of his good deeds will remain intact. Moreover, if the person will merit the full measure of Hashem's attribute of compassion, then the sum of his sins will be diminished, for many of them will be found to have been carried out unwillfully, or will be attributed to some outside factor for which the sinner will not be held responsible. In summation, heaven has infinite ways through which to find an individual meritorious. Through such consideration, the individual's good deeds will outweigh his sins, thus granting him the eternal status of a tzaddik. The way in which heaven judges an individual is reflective of the way in which that individual acts towards his fellow on this earth. If it is his way to judge others favorably, then heaven will judge him favorably. However, if it is his way to view others critically and express his views to others, then the heavenly angels will speak of him in the same fashion. Thus, one must always bear in mind that at the moment when he expresses a judgment of his fellow's actions, he is determining the way in which he himself will be judged by the heavenly court. Thanks, and we'll continue tomorrow.